have a quorum for the Streets and Services hearing. To my left, Councilman Greenlee, and to my right, Councilman Jones and Councilman Johnson. Mr. Monagle, would you like to read the title of the first bill?
Bill number 170561, an ordinance amending section 12-701 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Designation of Bicycle Lanes by authoring the Department of Streets to designate a bicycle lane in the southbound direction on 15th Street between Carpenter and Washington Avenue, and also regulating the direction of movement of traffic on 15th Street between Carpenter Street and Washington Avenue, and establishing no parking regulations on both sides of 15th Street from Carpenter Street to Washington Avenue, all under certain terms and conditions.
Good morning, Saint. If you just want to start with...
Obviously, I'm not Keisha Duckett.
Yes, I know. I looked up there.
Sorry.
Just state your name for the record and then proceed with your testimony.
Good morning, Chairman Squill and members of the committee. Thank you for the opportunity to appear for you today. My name is St. Martin Torrance, Director of Legislative Affairs for the Department of Streets. I'm here to offer testimony on bill number 170561. The Streets Department supports this bill that designates a bicycle lane in the southbound direction on 15th Street between Carpenter Street and Washington Avenue. This bill also regulates the direction of the movement of traffic on 15th Street between Carpenter Street and Washington Avenue, and establishes no parking regulations on both sides of 15th Street from Carpenter Street to Washington Avenue. Thank you for the opportunity to appear before you today. That concludes my testimony.
Thank you for your testimony. Any questions? Seeing none, anybody else here to testify? Come on up.
Thank you. Speaking on behalf of the bill,
Just before you start, just state your name. State your name for the record.
Madeline Chicumba. I represent North of Washington Avenue Coalition. We are a community organization representing that area. I'm calling to make sure that this bill states the traffic on 15th Street will be redirected and that there be no parking. I'm calling to make sure Councilman Johnson adheres to his promise to us that we will not lose any parking spaces on the area and that we'll be compensated for parking spaces in other areas. I'm also upset because the fact of the matter is that we've been representing this area for over 40 years, and it was not even a courtesy of notifying us about this bill, okay? And I spoke to Councilman Johnson, and he expected that he will, in the future, make sure that our organization is notified on all issues concerning any matter in this area in the future. Now, we do not oppose this bill per se as long as there is no loss in parking spaces. However, we would like for the parking on Carpenter Street to be extended instead of from 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. because most people be coming home from work and we have a shortage of parking in our area, period. That it would be extended from, instead of 8, from 6 p.m. to 8 a.m. in the morning. Because most people start coming home, and with all these huge buildings being put in our area, all this rezoning going on in our area to CMX and IRMX, we are losing huge number of parking spaces because these buildings are coming in and not putting in enough spaces to count for the people they plan to bring into our area. So we just want to make sure that this is not, in the future, that parking is taken into consideration when all these big buildings come around, and that NOAA be notified in the future of anything that goes on in our neighborhood, and that we no longer be set aside. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony and duly noted for the record. Is there any questions? Seeing none, anyone else here to testify on bill number 170561? Thank you very much. For the record, hold on one second. You want to testify on this bill? Before you testify, I just want to, for the record, note that Councilman Tottenberger and Councilman O's present at the hearing. Please proceed up.
Good morning.
State your name for the record.
Rachel Royer with Altera Property Group. I'm part of the development team for Lincoln Square. And I just wanted to speak to the concerns that, about street parking, that we will be putting back the same number of parking spaces that are currently there for street parking. We're doing some curb realignment, we're closing some existing driveways that are no longer necessary. So currently there are 60 parking spaces around the site, and there will be 60 parking spaces on the street when we're completed with construction.
Great, thank you for clarifying that. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Is there any other questions? Seeing none, is there anyone else here to testify on bill number 170561? Seeing none, Mr. McMonigle, please read the title of the next bill.
Bill number 170435, an ordinance legalizing an existing deck and fence encroachment at 5200 C Street, Philadelphia, PA 19120, all under certain terms and conditions.
Please proceed.
Good morning, Chairman Squilla, members of the Streets and Services Committee. My name is St. Martin Torrance. I'm Director of Legislative Affairs for the Department of Streets. I'm here to offer testimony on bill number 170435. My testimony is submitted, however, the Streets Department opposes this encroachment because the encroachment reduces the walking zone below our allowable minimum and will create an obstruction for the replacement of existing utilities and infrastructure, including the design and build of a new ADA corner ramp. Thank you for your time. This concludes my testimony.
Thank you. Please proceed.
Okay, good morning, Chairman Squilla and members of Streets and Services Committee. I'm Sarah Chu, City Planner with the Philadelphia City Planning Commission. I'm here to testify on bill number 170435, which was introduced by Councilmember Parker on May 4th, 2017. Bill number 170435 would legalize an existing deck and fence encroachment at the 5200 C Street. The deck encroaches 4 feet on C Street and 6 feet on Ashdale's sidewalks, and leaving approximately 6 feet pedestrian walkway space. The fence encroaches 6 feet on Ashdale Street, leaving about 6 feet of pedestrian walking zone. The City Planning Commission raised several concerns about the precedents established by this unauthorized construction of these encroachments, as well as the negative impact on the neighborhood's character. At its meeting on May 16, 2017, the City Planning Commission recommended a bill number 170435 not be approved. This concludes my testimony. I appreciate the opportunity to testify before you today, and be pleased to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you for your testimony. Are there any questions? Seeing none, is there anyone else here to testify on bill number 170435?
Sorry. Good morning.
State your name and then proceed with your testimony.
My name is Katrina Murray. Good morning. My name is Katrina Murray, and I'm here to testify on Bill 170435. I am the property owner of the property referenced in this bill. The legislation seeks to legalize an existing deck and fence encroachment at 5200 C Street. I have spoken with all my neighbors regarding this legislation, and they signed a petition in support of it, which I have here with me today. I also work with Councilwoman Parker's office on this bill, and the Councilwoman is in support of it, particularly because my neighbors are in support of it as well. I reside in this property since 2014. Very quickly upon moving in, I learned that multiple dog owners who walk their dogs by my property allow them to go to the bathroom in the grass in the front and on the side of my house. Every day, my husband and I will arrive home from work to have to clean up multiple piles of feces. I called the city's 311 line and inquired about putting up a fence to address the problem, and I was advised that if the fence did not exceed 6 feet, that I did not have to obtain a permit. So I invested into the fence, and it has stopped this problem 90% of the time. There are still times when I find dog waste on the curb, but it's definitely not as much. The next problem was people was crossing the lawn in the front of the house. For some reason, my lawn has large rocks planted in it, and they are unmovable from the previous owner. Possibly it was to address the problem of people walking in the lawn. Unfortunately, it didn't solve the problem, and it even made it worse. In fact, I had 3 cases where someone crossed my lawn and tripped and left notices that they were seeking attorneys. Additionally, my neighbors' children run across the lawn to get to their houses faster, putting themselves in danger of tripping. Finally, there's a bus stop in front of my house, and individuals will stand and even sit in the lawn while waiting for the bus. They also walk across my lawn in order to cut the corner and get to the bus stop more quickly. My husband and I decided these problems could be solved if there was a way for people not to cross the lawn. I would also like to add that when I moved to the property, there was a water department manhole cover in the front of the property that was not level with the cement. And due to the issue, I received multiple notes in my door again, with people seeking an attorney because they tripped on the manhole. It took me calling the city 8 times until someone came out to adjust the manhole, but now no one can pursue a lawsuit against the city because of the issue. I implemented the fence and the deck solely in response to individuals using my lawn, whether to relieve their dogs or cut a corner. I also put these structures up to prevent people from potential tripping hazards. Finally, as I stated before, I have the support of my neighbors, and I appreciate the support of the legislation today, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Councilman Greenlee?
Yeah, thank you. Just very quick. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, ma'am. I'm looking at the pictures that were submitted with the petition. It looks to me like there's still a fair amount of walking space here. It's not like people can't walk down the sidewalk. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay, all right. And I assume this is kind of local streets. I mean, it's not like, we're not on Broad Street here where there's a ton of people walking around, right? So
Not at all.
kind of local street, and like you say, your neighbors are supporting this.
Yes.
Right? Okay, all right. Just for the record, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Councilman Tautenberger?
Mr. Chairman, thank you. Ms. Murray, thank you very much for coming today and giving us your viewpoint. When you had your petition signed, was there anyone that refused to sign, said, I'm not in support of this? I don't.
Not at
So
all.
you got everyone that you asked?
Yes.
And I certainly understand your reasoning for privacy and also keeping people just from walking all over the place.
Thank you.
I thank you. Mr. Chairman, thank you very much.
Thank you. We do, for the record, have the petition here with the signatures and the pictures, so thank you for providing that. Any other questions? Seeing none, is there anyone else here to testify on bill number 170435? Seeing none, thank you very much for your testimony. Mr. McMonigle, please read the title of the next bill.
Bill number 170461, an ordinance authorizing Route 34 Group to install, own, and maintain an open-air sidewalk cafe at 5021-23 Baltimore Avenue, Philadelphia, PA 19143, under certain terms and conditions.
Good morning, Chairman Squilla and members of the Streets and Services Committee. My name is St. Martin Torrance, and I'm the Director of Legislative Affairs for the Department of Streets. I'm here to offer testimony on bill number 170461. This bill authorizes Route 34 Group to install, own, and maintain an open-air sidewalk cafe at 5021 to 23 Baltimore Avenue under certain terms and conditions. My testimony is submitted. The Streets Department supports this encroachment. Thank you for your time. This concludes my testimony.
Good morning, Chairman Squilla and members of the Streets and Services Committee. I'm Sarah Chu, City Planner with the Philadelphia City Planning Commission. I'm here to testify on bill number 170461, which was introduced by Councilmember Blackwell on May 11th, 2017. Bill number 170461 authorized a sidewalk cafe encroachment at 5021-23 Baltimore Avenue. The proposal requests 9 feet of encroachment from the building line along 39 feet of frontage on Baltimore Avenue, leaves the 9 feet of a clear, unobstructed footway. The complete street policy recommends a minimum 9 feet walking zone space for this location. This proposed encroachment meet this requirement. The Planning Commission is scheduled to consider this bill at its meeting on June 13th, 2017, with a staff recommendation for approval. This concludes my testimony. Appreciate the opportunity to testify before you today, and be pleased to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you for your testimony. Are there any questions? Seeing none, I'd like to recognize...
Mr. Chairman, we support it.
You
Just
support
wanted to-
that?
Yes,
Councilman
sir.
Blackwell supports?
Thank you.
Is there any other testimony on bill number 170461?
What else is next?
Seeing none, thank you. Mr. McMonigle, please read the title of the next bill.
Bill number 170462, an ordinance authorizing Boyd's Realty Partnership to install, own, and maintain concrete planar encroachments at 1818 Chestnut Street, Philadelphia, PA 19103, under certain terms and conditions.
Good morning, Chairman Squilla and members of the Streets and Services Committee. My name is St. Martin Torrance. I'm the Director of Legislative Affairs for the Department of Streets. I'm here to offer testimony on bill number 170462. This bill authorizes Boyd's Realty Partnership to install, own, and maintain concrete planar encroachments at 1818 Chestnut Street under certain terms and conditions. My testimony is submitted. The Streets Department supports this ordinance. Thank you for your time. This concludes my testimony.
Great testimony. Is there any questions? Seeing none, anybody else here to testify on bill number 170462? Thank you. Mr. McMonigle, please read the title of the next bill.
Bill number 170497, an ordinance establishing a truck parking regulation on Cobbs Creek Parkway between Hazel and Cedar Avenues, both sides.
Please proceed.
Good morning, Chairman Squilla and members of the Streets and Services Committee. My name is St. Martin Torrance. I'm Director of Legislative Affairs for the Department of Streets. I'm here to offer testimony on Bill number 170497. The Department of Streets has no objections to this bill. This parking regulation can be posted within 30 days of the passage of this bill. Thank you for the opportunity to appear before you today. This concludes my testimony.
Thank you. Any questions?
Mr. Chairman
Blackwell.
and the committee, again, we support all of our bills today, and thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilwoman.
Thank you.
Anyone else here to testify on Bill number 170497? Seeing none, Ms. McMonigle, please read the title of the next bill.
Bill number 170553, an ordinance authorizing Brandywine Realty Trust to construct, own, and maintain various right-of-way encroachments at 3001-23 Market Street, all under certain terms and conditions.
Good morning, Chairman Squilla and members of the Streets and Services Committee. My name is St. Martin Torrance. I'm Director of Legislative Affairs for the Department of Streets. I'm here to offer testimony on Bill number 170553. This bill authorizes Brandy Realty Trust to construct, own, and maintain various right-of-way encroachments at 3001 to 23 Market Street, all under certain terms and conditions. My testimony is submitted. The Streets Department supports this legislation. Thank you for your time. This concludes my testimony.
Thank you. Please proceed.
Good morning, Chairman Squilla and members of Streets and Services Committee. I'm Sarah Chu, City Planner with the Philadelphia City Planning Commission. I'm here to testify on Bill number 170553, which was introduced by Councilmember Blackwell on May 25th, 2016. Bill number 170553 authorized planters and access stairs encroachment on Market Street, 30th Street, and JFK Boulevard, ranging from approximately 2 feet 2 inches to 5 feet 5 inches wide, on the 3 street-facing sides of 3001 Market Street. The complete street policy recommends between 7.5 feet to 10 feet walking zone space on 30th Street and Market Street. The proposed encroachment does meet the minimum requirements. The Planning Commission is scheduled to consider this bill at its meeting on June 13th, 2017, with a staff recommendation for approval, and we also would like to continue work with the development team on the design details. So this concludes my testimony. I appreciate the opportunity to testify before you today, and be pleased to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. Councilman Blackwell, do you have?
Yes, we support this bill. Took a long time working with Brandywine, so we'll support it.
I also see there's a request for no suspension of the rules to work out some details, and we will honor that. Thank you very much. Any other questions? Seeing none, is there anyone else here to testify on Bill number 170553? Thank you so much. Mr. McMonigle, please read the title of the next bill.
Bill number 170554, an ordinance authorizing Mr. Baldev Shunta, owner and operator of the newsstand located on the west side of 34th Street, 148 feet north of Convention Avenue, to construct, use, and maintain conduits in, under, and across the west side of 34th Street, 148 feet north of Convention Avenue, for the purpose of supplying electrical service to said newsstand under certain terms and conditions.
Please proceed.
Good morning, Chairman Squilla, members of the Streets and Services Committee. My name is St. Martin Torrance. I'm Director of Legislative Affairs for the Department of Streets. I'm here to offer testimony on Bill number 170554. This bill authorizes Mr. Baldev Shunta, owner and operator of the newsstand located on the west side of 34th Street, 148 feet north of Convention Avenue, to construct, use, and maintain conduits in, under, and across the west side of 34th Street, 148 feet north of Convention Avenue, for the purpose of supplying electrical service to said newsstand. The Streets Department supports this encroachment. Thank you for your time. This concludes my testimony.
Thank you for your testimony. Any questions? Councilman Blackwell?
Thank you. We'll support this. We've had a lot of battles on this between CHOP and her. Nobody wants it. So, after a couple of years, you got to make a decision, so we support it.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Is there any other questions? Seeing none, is there anybody else here to testify on Bill number 170554? Ms. McMonigle, please read. Seeing none, Ms. McMonigle, please read the title of the next bill.
Bill number 170565, an ordinance authorizing Gall and Company Malt House to install, own, and maintain an open-air sidewalk cafe at 3133 Gall Street, Philadelphia, PA 19134, under certain terms and conditions.
Good morning, Chairman Squilla, members of the Streets and Services Committee. My name is St. Martin Torrance. I'm Director of Legislative Affairs for the Department of Streets. I'm here to offer testimony on Bill number 170565. This bill authorizes Gall and Company Malt House to install, own, and maintain an open-air sidewalk cafe at 3133 Gall Street. My testimony is submitted. The Streets Department supports this encroachment. Thank you for your time. This concludes my testimony.
Good morning, Chairman Squilla and members of Streets and Services Committee. I'm Sarah Chu, City Planner with the Philadelphia City Planning Commission. I'm here to testify on Bill number 170565, which was introduced by Councilmember Squilla on May 25th, 2017. Bill number 170565 authorizes sidewalk café encroachment on 3133 Gulf Street. The proposal request for 2 feet 10 inches of encroachment on the building line along 42 feet of frontage along Gulf Street, leaves a 5 feet unobstructed sidewalk. Additionally, it requests a 4 feet encroachment from the building line along 7 feet 3 inches of frontage along Clementi Street, leaves 8 feet of unobstructed sidewalk. The complete street policy recommends a minimum of 5 feet walking zone space for this location. This proposed encroachment meets this requirement. So City Planning Commission is scheduled to consider this bill at its meeting on June 13th, 2017, with a staff recommendation for approval. This concludes my testimony. Appreciate the opportunity to testify before you today, and be pleased to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you for your testimony. Are there any questions? Seeing none, is there anyone else here to testify on Bill number 170565? Seeing none, Mr. McMonigle, please read the title of the next bill.
Bill number 170566, an ordinance amending Section 9 of an ordinance, Bill number 150377, approved June 18th, 2015, as amended by Bill number 160566, approved June 16th, 2016, entitled, An Ordinance Authorizing the Construction, Ownership, and Maintenance of Various Encroachments into the Right-of-Way of Market Street, Filbert Street, 11th Street, 10th Street, 9th Street, and 8th Street, by extending the time for compliance with the authorization conditions therein.
Thank you, that was tough. Please proceed with your testimony.
Good morning, Chairman Squilla and members of the Streets and Services Committee. My name is St. Martin Torrance. I'm the Director of Legislative Affairs for the Department of Streets. I'm here to offer testimony on Bill number 170566. This bill extends the time for compliance with the authorization given by prior bills, Bill number 150377 and Bill number 160566. The Streets Department supports this ordinance. Thank you for your time. This concludes my testimony.
Good morning, Chairman Squilla and members of Streets and Services Committee. I'm Sarah Chu, City Planner with the Philadelphia City Planning Commission. I'm here to testify on Bill number 170566, which was introduced by Councilmember Squilla on May 25th, 2017. Bill number 170566 is to extend the timeline for compliance for the redevelopment at the gallery site. The amendment is consistent with the Bill number 150377, which was approved by the Planning Commission in May 2015. The Planning Commission is scheduled to consider this bill at its meeting on June 13th, 2017, with a staff recommendation for approval. This concludes my testimony. I appreciate the opportunity to testify before you today, and be pleased to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. Any questions? Seeing none, is there anyone else here to testify on Bill number 170566? Seeing none, Mr. McMonigle, please read the title of the next bill.
Bill number 170499, an ordinance authorizing the revision of lines and grades on a portion of City Plan number 307 by striking from the City Plan and vacating the southerly 18 feet wide portion of Vine Street from 18th Street to a point approximately 150 feet eastwardly therefrom under certain terms and conditions.
Please proceed.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. My name is Frank Morelli, Survey Bureau Manager of the Department of Streets, and the Department of Streets would like to offer the following testimony on Bill number 170499. This is not an administration ordinance, but an ordinance requested by Dawn Tancredi of Obermeyer, Reedman, Maxwell, and Hipple on behalf of the Archdiocese of Philadelphia. The purpose of this ordinance is to authorize the revision of lines and grades on a portion of City Plan number 307 by striking from the City Plan and vacating the southerly 18 feet wide portion of Vine Street from 18th Street to a point approximately 150 feet eastwardly therefrom under certain terms and conditions. The purpose of this ordinance is to relocate the house line in this area in order to better configure the adjacent property and to facilitate future development. The portion of Vine Street proposed to be stricken is part of a landscaped area and not currently utilized for roadway or sidewalk. The ordinance is supported by the Department of Streets and is recommended to your committee for favorable action.
Good morning, Chairman Squilla and members of Streets and Services Committee. I'm Sarah Chu, City Planner with the Philadelphia City Planning Commission. I'm here to testify on Bill number 170499, which was introduced by Councilmember Jones on May 18, 2017. Bill number 170499 is to strike and vacate 18 feet wide portion of Vine Street from 18th Street to a point approximately 150 feet to the east. This portion of the street is currently being used as a landscaped area and is being maintained by the budding property owner, Archdiocese of Philadelphia. This action is to eliminate the irregular shape of the lot that is currently owned by the Archdiocese and to facilitate design a more efficient plan for the parcel. The Planning Commission is scheduled to consider this bill at its meetings on June 13, 2017, with a staff recommendation for approval. This concludes my testimony. I appreciate the opportunity to testify before you today, and be pleased to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you for your quick testimony. Any questions? Seeing none, anyone else here to testify on Bill number 170499? Seeing none, thank you. Mr. McMonigle, please read the title of the next bill.
Bill number 170509, an ordinance authorizing the revision of lines and grades on a portion of City Plan numbers 240 and 296 by placing on the City Plan Nixon Street from an existing northwesterly terminus of Nixon Street, northwest of Shawmont Avenue to Port Royal Avenue, placing on the City Plan River Road from Port Royal Avenue to a point approximately 10 feet southeast of the Philadelphia-Montgomery County line, and placing on the City Plan a right-of-way for sewer and drainage purposes and water and main purposes and emergency access purposes, extending from the proposed northwesterly terminus of River Road to the Philadelphia-Montgomery County line, and authorizing the vacating of the legally open portions of Nixon Street and River Road lying outside the lines of Nixon Street and River Road as proposed to be placed on the City Plan, all under certain terms and conditions.
The Department of Streets would like to offer the following testimony on Bill number 170509. This is an administration ordinance requested by the Water Department. The purpose of this ordinance is to authorize the revision of lines and grades on a portion of City Plan number 240 and 296 by placing on the City Plan Nixon Street from existing northwesterly terminus of Nixon Street, northwest of Shawmont Avenue to Port Royal Avenue, not on City Plan, placing on the City Plan River Road from Port Royal Avenue, not on the City Plan, to a point approximately 10 feet southeast of the Philadelphia-Montgomery County line, and placing on the City Plan a right-of-way for sewer and drainage purposes and water main purposes and emergency access purposes extending from the proposed northwesterly terminus of River Road to the Philadelphia-Montgomery County line, and authorizing the vacating of the legally open portions of Nixon Street and River Road lying outside the lines of Nixon Street and River Road as proposed to be placed on the City Plan, all under certain terms and conditions. The purpose of this action is to place Nixon Street and River Road on the City Plan in their existing physical locations as part of a project to install public sewers and relieve unsanitary conditions in this area. This ordinance is supported by the Department of Streets and recommended to your committee for favorable action.
Good morning, Chairman Squilla and members of the Streets and Services Committee. I'm Sarah Chu, City Planner with the Philadelphia City Planning Commission. I'm here to testify on Bill number 170509, which was introduced by Councilmember Jones on May 18, 2017. Bill number 170509 is to revise lines and grades on City Plan from Nixon Street from its existing terminus to Port Royal Avenue, and to place River Road from Port Royal Avenue to a point approximately 10 feet southeast of Philadelphia-Montgomery County line, as well as to place a right-of-ways for utility and emergency access on City Plan. Bill number 170509 is consistent with Bill number 080246, which was recommended for approval by the Planning Commission in 2008. The Planning Commission is scheduled to consider this bill at its meeting on June 13, 2017, with a staff recommendation of approval. This concludes my testimony. I appreciate the opportunity to testify before you today, and be pleased to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you for your testimony. Any questions? Councilman Tottenberg?
I would assume this then allows homeowners in the area to hook up to city sewage. Is that correct?
That's the purpose of it, yes.
And about how many homeowners would be helped with this? Approximately. I'm not going to.
I think that there would be under 20 property owners that would be connecting.
Okay. And then once this is passed, how long along the process would it take to implement this? Approximately. I'm not.
I would have to defer that to the water department engineers, the timeframe for construction. I know that they're in a hurry to get this project started, but I don't have the timeframe of actual construction.
You think construction might get started in a year once it's passed?
I believe that would be
I mean,
the
I'm not going to
timeframe.
hang anyone on
Yeah.
this. So
Yeah, I believe that would be a reasonable
ballpark
timeframe, yes.
Answer's good enough. Okay. Mr. Chairman, thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilman. Any other questions? Seeing none, is there anyone else to testify on 170509? Thank you. Mr. McMonigle, please read the title of the next bill.
Bill number 170510, an ordinance authorizing the revision of lines and grades on a portion of City Plan number 311 by striking from the city plan and vacating the legally open portions of Westview Street from Springbank Street to Horter Street, and reserving and placing on the city plan a right-of-way for sewer and drainage purposes and water main purposes within the lines of Westview Street being stricken under certain terms and conditions.
The Department of Streets would like to offer the following testimony on Bill number 170510. This is an administration ordinance requested. This is not an administration ordinance, but an ordinance requested by Ralph S. Pincus, Esquire, of the law offices of Ralph S. Pincus, representing Dr. Mark B. Kahn, M.D. The purpose of this ordinance is to authorize the revision of lines and grades on a portion of City Plan number 311 by striking from the city plan and vacating the legally open portions of Westview Street from Springbank Street to Horter Street, and reserving and placing on the city plan a right-of-way for sewer and drainage purposes and water main purposes within the lines of Westview Street being stricken under certain terms and conditions. The purpose of this proposed ordinance is to remove this paper street as an encumbrance and allow an abutting property owner to establish a conservation easement on a portion of this land which adjoins a section of Fairmount Park. Westview Street in this location is not paved and is not used for public traffic. This ordinance is supported by the Department of Streets and recommended to your committee for favorable action.
Good morning, Chairman Squilla and members of Streets and Services Committee. I'm Sarah Chu, City Planner with the Philadelphia City Planning Commission. I'm here to testify on Bill number 170510, which was introduced by Councilmember Jones on May 18, 2017. Bill number 170510 is to strike and vacate a portion of Westview Street from Springbank Street to Horter Street. Westview Street at this location is not physically improved, not open for public traffic. The abutting property owners propose to dedicate this portion of the street, both open and unopened area, as a perpetual conservation easement. The Planning Commission is scheduled to consider this bill at its meeting on June 13, 2017, with a staff recommendation for approval. This concludes my testimony. Appreciate the opportunity to testify before you today, and be pleased to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you for your testimony. Councilman Tautenberger?
Quick question. Either one of you. Conservation easement, what is the definition of that?
The basic concept is to preserve the land.
So you can go in and out with something or other to help. I mean, I guess a conservation easement. An easement means you can, go forward on it, or you can move through a person's property. Or
That's access easement. Basically, conservation easement is preserve the area.
Gotcha.
So they don't want to see any development, nothing happening in that area.
That's fine. That answers my question. Mr. Chairman, thank you.
Thank you very much, Councilman. Any other questions? Seeing none, is there anyone else here to testify on Bill number 170510? Thank you. Mr. McMonigle, please read the title of the next bill.
Bill number 170518, an ordinance authorizing the revision of lines and grades on a portion of City Plan number 58 by striking from the city plan and vacating Pearl Street from 13th Street to Broad Street, and reserving and placing on the city plan a right-of-way for sewer and drainage purposes, water main purposes, and public utility purposes within the lines of Pearl Street being stricken under certain terms and conditions.
The Department of Streets would like to offer the following testimony on Bill number 170518. This is not an administration ordinance, but an ordinance requested by Mr. Thomas Chapman of Blank Rome, representing JAR Packard Property LP. The purpose of this ordinance is to authorize the revision of lines and grades on a portion of City Plan number 58 by striking from the city plan and vacating Pearl Street from 13th Street to Broad Street, and reserving and placing on the city plan a right-of-way for sewer and drainage purposes, water main purposes, and public utility purposes within the lines of Pearl Street being stricken under certain terms and conditions. The purpose of this proposed ordinance is to allow the adjacent property owners to fence off and better secure this area, which has lately been beset by drug sales, vandalism, and other illicit activities. This ordinance is supported by the Department of Streets and recommended to your committee for favorable action.
Good morning, Chairman Squilla and members of Streets and Services Committee. I'm Sarah Chu, City Planner with the Philadelphia City Planning Commission. I'm here to testify on Bill number 170518, which was introduced by Councilmember Squilla on May 18th, 2017. Bill number 170518 is to strike and vacate Pearl Street from 13th Street to Broad Street and to reserve a utility right-of-way. The proposal is to keep this block of Pearl Street with controlled access only. This action is to address the security concerns from the adjacent property owners. The illegal activities on the street create dangerous and unsanitary situations for students, residents, and business at the abutting properties. The Planning Commission is scheduled to consider this bill at its meeting on June 13th, 2017, with a staff recommendation for approval. And staff also encourage the property owners to work with the Asian Art Initiative for the neighborhood improvement activities. This concludes my testimony. I appreciate the opportunity to testify before you today and be pleased to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you for your testimony. Any questions? Seeing none. Oh, you want to testify?
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. My name is Tom Chapman. I'm an attorney with Blank Rome here in Philadelphia. If I may, it's especially good to see Councilman O this morning. Rather than get into a lot of repetitive testimony, I would just say that we have representatives of 3 of the 4 adjacent property owners with us this morning, and that most of the time when I appear before this committee to strike a street, it's to allow development to take place over the stricken street. That's not the case, as you just heard from Mr. Morelli. In this case, the adjacent owners simply want to fence the street off to improve the security of the block. And with that, I would ask Father Bongard to introduce himself to the committee.
Thank you very much. My name is Father Joseph Bongard. I'm the rector of Roman Catholic High School. And as I just mentioned, I'm joined here this morning by Mr. Dick McMillan, who is of the Sunday Breakfast Mission, and Jeff Reinhold, who is the owner of the Packard Building, to support, obviously, this bill. If you're aware, the Packard, or the Pearl Street, is a very narrow street, which does not allow vehicular traffic. And because of that, it has really become a haven for drug sales and usage. There are syringes and needles all over the street. There's also public defecation and urination. There's been prostitution there. And with 930 boys in our school and the surrounding community, we really are in favor of striking this street to fence it off for public safety and for health reasons.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your testimonies. Any questions? Seeing none, is there anyone else here who wants to testify on bill number 170518? Thank you so much. Mr. McMonagle, please read the title of the next bill.
Bill number 170556, an ordinance authorizing the revision of lines and grades on a portion of City Plan number 308 by striking from the city plan and vacating certain subsurface portions and certain aerial portions of Moravian Street from 19th Street to 20th Street, all under certain terms and conditions.
The Department of Streets would like to offer the following testimony on Bill number 170556. This is not an administration ordinance, but an ordinance requested by Mr. Omar Rosa, P.E. of Stantec Consulting, on behalf of Mr. Dustin Downey of Southern Land Company. The purpose of this proposed ordinance is to authorize striking from the city plan and vacating certain subsurface portions and certain aerial portions of Moravian Street from 19th Street to 20th Street. The purpose of this action is to facilitate development of a 530 feet tall residential high-rise, including apartments, condominiums, and retail use, on either side of Moravian Street and fronting on Sampson and Walnut Street. The vacating of the subsurface and aerial rights will allow the proposed building structure and underground parking garage to span across the right-of-way lines above and below the street bed. Moravian Street will continue to exist as a public right-of-way, though limited in vertical dimensions within the area of development. As a condition of the proposed ordinance, the developer will accept a permanent responsibility for maintaining the entire block length of Moravian Street from 19th Street to 20th Street. This will relieve the city of the responsibility of performing any required maintenance, which could be rendered more difficult and more costly due to the proposed vertical limitations. The Streets Department has no objections to the passage of this ordinance.
Good morning, Chairman Squilla and members of Streets and Services Committee. I'm Sarah Chiu, City Planner with the Philadelphia City Planning Commission. I'm here to testify on Bill number 170556, which was introduced by Councilmember Greenlee for Council President Clark on May 25th, 2017. Bill number 170556 is to strike and vacate a portion of subsurface and aerial part of Moravian Street between 19th to 20th Street. The proposal is to facilitate a development proposal to build over and below Moravian Street. The Planning Commission is scheduled to consider this bill at its meeting on June 13th, 2017. This concludes my testimony. I appreciate the opportunity to testify before you today, and be pleased to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you for your testimony. Are there any questions? Seeing none. Is there anyone else here to testify on Bill number 170556? Seeing none. Thank you guys for your testimonies. And Mr. McMonagle, please read the title of the next bill.
Bill number 170012, an ordinance establishing parking regulations in the vicinity of Carpenter Street, Broad Street, and Washington Avenue.
Thank you, Dion. Just state your name for the record and then proceed with your testimony.
Yes. Good afternoon, Council. My name is Dion Bracely, Deputy Manager for the Philadelphia Parking Authority. Thank you for allowing me to testify before Council regarding Ordinance 170012, establishing parking regulations. The Philadelphia Parking Authority has no objection to the ordinance previously read and recommends favorable consideration. Thank you again.
Thank you so much. And this bill as amended, you're testifying on. Thank you. Any questions? Seeing none, anyone else here to testify on Bill number 170012? Thank you. Mr. McMonagle, please read the title of the next bill.
Bill number 170562, an ordinance establishing a parking regulation on Granite Street, south side Frankfurt Avenue to Darrow Street.
Just state your name for the record and then proceed with your testimony.
Bernadette Williams. Good morning, Council. My name is Bernadette Williams, Lead Analyst in the Planning and Analysis Department for the Philadelphia Parking Authority. Thank you for allowing me to testify before Council regarding Ordinance 170562, establishing parking regulations. The Parking Authority has no objection to the ordinance previously read before Council and recommends favorable consideration. Thank you again.
Thank you for your testimony. We love Parking Authority's testimony, short and sweet. Thank you. Any questions? Seeing none. Anybody else here to testify on Bill number 170562? Seeing none. Thank you very much. That will end our public hearing. We will now go into a public meeting. Councilman Greenlee?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First, let me move bill number, move the adoption of, or amendment of, the adoption of bill number 170553 be reported as committee with favorable recommendation.
Bill 170553 has been read and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Bill 170553 has been approved.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move the adoption of the amendment to bill number 170012.
Bill has 170012 has been amended. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Bill has been amended.
I'll get it together.
All right.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move that the following bills be reported as committee with favorable recommendation and the rules of council be suspended to allow for first reading at our next session of council. Bill numbers 170561, 170435, 170461, 170462, 170497, 1705 170565, 170565, 170566, 170499, 170509, 170510, 570518, 570556.
170,
What did I say?
570.
Okay. Which one?
Start at 17051.
Oh?
Yeah, 510.
170510, 170518, 170556, 170012 as amended, and 170562.
All bills read into the record have been motioned and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None, no opposed. The ayes have it. All bills read into the record have been approved with suspension of the rules to be read at the next council session. Thank you so much. Have a great day.